What are you even doing in this house? You're practically a parasite. Hey, what are you doing with that? My mother-in-law, Scarlett, threw my belongings out of the window. I retorted to her seemingly insane action. Don't you talk back to me like that. Please pick them up. Then she held a knife to my throat. Realizing the danger, I couldn't move a step. Get out quickly, or it won't be a joke next time. Understood? If you insist that much, I'll leave. Scarlett, who has been harassing me since we started living together, doesn't know. She doesn't know that I'm the one supporting this house. The fear I had earlier is gone. I even feel like daring her to do her worst. I'll give you a week. Leave within that time. Thank you, I said to her. But I couldn't stop laughing. Realizing I shouldn't be noticed, I quickly returned to a serious face. This will bring peace to the house. Very good. Yes, indeed. How foolish can she be? Without me, this house will be far from peaceful. A hell awaits. Thus, I left Scarlett behind in the in-laws' house and moved to a condominium. She would later come to know the truth, but by then it was too late. My name is Alexis. Now I'm working from home, utilizing my previous job experience. It's been over 5 years since I married Ethan. But are you okay? I'm sorry. I never thought this would happen. I'm just glad you're safe. But now I'll be a burden on you. Alexis, don't think like that. I was in the hospital room, relieved that he was safe, crying without caring about anyone else. The thing is, working in construction, he had an accident and lost almost all grip strength in his dominant hand. When I heard that, I couldn't think of anything. Scarlett. Dear Ethan, are you okay? Scarlett had arrived, but she pushed me aside and rushed to Ethan. It seems she didn't even see me. We weren't necessarily on bad terms, but sometimes she prioritized Ethan over everything. It was one of those times. Oh, Alexis, you're here. I just got here too. Well, whatever. Ethan, let's live together at my place from now. Huh? I let out a strange noise at her abrupt suggestion. Then she glared at me. What, do you have a problem? No, it's just all of a sudden. Ethan is in this state. I can't leave him to you alone. I was irked by her comment. There was no need for her to go that far. Then Ethan said, Alexis has been doing enough until now, so I'm relying on her from now on too. Thank you. Hearing his words, I thought I saw Scarlett make a face. I couldn't see it clearly, but she obviously didn't like it, but I couldn't let her win. So, come to the house as soon as you're discharged. You too, of course. It's not like she needed to say that. Leaving everything to her, who knows what would happen. And you'll do all the moving preparations, Alexis. All of it. That's a bit much. That's right, Mom. You should help out too. I wished he had said more. However, Scarlett, probably not wanting to help, ignored his words. I have my own things to do. She grinned wickedly, making sure he couldn't see. It's probably not for anything good. So, living with Scarlett was decided. A month later, Ethan was discharged. I was busy with the move, so I asked Scarlett to pick him up, but it was her who told me just to get things ready. Irritated, but still tidying up. It's not done yet, huh? I told you today's the day Ethan gets discharged. Not even here to welcome him. That's because you said, Ethan, I told you, right? This woman prioritizes herself over you. That's not true. I know her intention. She's trying to embarrass me in front of Ethan to lower my standing, but I'm determined not to fall for such an obvious plan. Ethan looked at me with a knowing, kind expression. Mom, stop that nonsense. Unseemly. I'm saying this for your sake. That's none of your business. Wait a minute, Scarlett. Chasing after Ethan in a panic was quite comical. It made me laugh out loud. Noticing that, she glared at me with a devilish face. Her glare meant nothing to me. You can just relax at home from now on. I can't do that. I can't use my right hand, but I can't just put all the burden on you. Even so, you just got discharged. I won't feel at ease if I don't do something. Ethan was determined. I had planned to let him relax for a while, but seeing his insistence, I decided to respect his wishes. Maybe start with simple cleaning. It might even be good for rehabilitation. That makes sense. I don't know if this hand will ever be the same, but it's better than doing nothing. But there's one condition. Absolutely no overdoing it. Of course. If I did, you would get mad, right? You're scary when angry. No kidding. He looked normal, just as I had imagined. Well, he might just be acting brave, not wanting to worry me. That's why I decided to work even harder, doing his share too. But I had forgotten about one person who would interfere. Hey, Alexis. Yes? Why is Ethan cleaning? He offered to help. Did you force him to do it? Scarlett only sees and judges based on what's in front of her. She has no idea of the thoughts and feelings behind it. She should try being in our shoes for once. Anyway, you just lock yourself in a room and play all day. It must be nice to only have fun, especially when your husband is seriously injured. I am working, you know. It's called remote work. Yeah, I know. Spare me the excuses. It's not an excuse. Then she threw a nearby trash can at me. It didn't hit me, but trash scattered everywhere. I gave up explaining. There's no point in talking to someone who doesn't want to listen. Clean up this dirty mess yourself. Sighing, I started picking up the scattered trash. Oh, what happened? Well, it's a bit complicated, I said with a forced smile. But Ethan seemed to notice something was off. He usually looks mild-mannered, but sometimes he's incredibly perceptive, like a detective. Did Mom do something to you? No, well, can you tell me? He looked at me seriously. Seeing his face, I knew I couldn't lie. I explained what had just happened. Got it. I'll talk to her too. No, you don't have to. I'm fine. That's not the point. It's okay. No, it's not. I was happy he would speak for me, but I worried about the aftermath. Whatever happens, the target of the attack would end up being me. I looked up at the ceiling, lost in thought. Then that night, I thought Alexis was just playing around. That's not true. She is working hard, doing my share too. Then why are you cleaning? I asked to do it. I can't just sit around doing nothing. You just got out of the hospital. I know my own body well. Scarlett, scolded by Ethan, became quiet. She probably didn't expect her son to be so stern. If she really thought that, it's nothing but vanity. I hoped she would quiet down a bit. That day, Ethan was out for rehabilitation, and I was at home with Scarlett as usual. I was working in my room when she came in. Can I talk to you for a second? Can you wait about 15 minutes? I can't wait that long. Come now. All right. Rushed by her, I headed to the living room where a strange woman was sitting. Who is this? Just sit down. I sat down, though I couldn't understand the situation. As I wondered who she was, the woman spoke. This is your daughter-in-law who does nothing but play all day. Yes, that's right. Scarlett turned a disgustingly sweet smile towards me. So you understand you're not needed in this house. Wait, what do you mean? Looking around, I saw expressions that seemed to indicate I didn't really understand. I couldn't understand the meaning. Surrounded by strangers, I was being condemned. I wanted to escape immediately. Don't you get it? We don't need you. Less people in this house. I don't understand what you mean. Everyone says that. The baffling interrogation continued. They kept insisting on how worthless I was. Continuously hearing this could drive anyone insane. Isn't it time you understood your place? Shouldn't that be your line? You're going to rebel against your mother-in-law? Isn't this a waste of time? How dare you? I was reaching my limit. I didn't want to anger Scarlett further, fearing what she might do next, so I decided to take action. Oh, isn't it about time Ethan comes back from rehab? What, is it that time already? Then the mysterious woman left. I'll come again. Sure, I'll be waiting. Scarlett and her friend fell for my lie. In reality, he wouldn't be back for another hour. We were just getting into a good part. By the way, who was that person earlier? I finally asked the question I'd been curious about. Oh, that was Johanna, my best friend. I told her about you, and she wanted to meet you. I could easily imagine how she had described me, probably as a useless wife who does nothing but play. I thought how pitiable Scarlett was, only able to do such things. That's how it was. By the way, Ethan isn't coming back yet. I'll go back to my work. As I was returning to my room. Wait, what do you mean? Just as I said, he's not coming back yet. You lied, you should have realized. What's with that attitude? I decided to say what I wanted. Any further interference from her would be just a nuisance. Weren't you the one who started this conflict? You brought your friend because you couldn't handle it alone? That's not true. I can handle someone like you on my own. Then please do if you really can. I boldly taunted her. I thought she would do something by that, and she reacted. Apologize now while you can. I have no intention of doing that. Unable to contain her anger, she grabbed a vase nearby and threw it at me. Just like the trash can earlier, I easily dodged it, having anticipated her move. I taunted her further with a laugh. I'm home. Just then, Ethan arrived. Scarlett panicked. Why now? You weren't supposed to be back yet. Oh, sorry. What I said earlier was a lie. He was actually on his way back. Why would you do that? It's obvious, isn't it? Pointing at the shattered vase, I imagined the upcoming scene would be quite amusing. Wow, what happened here? Scarlett threw it at me. What's going on? I explained everything to Ethan. He looked both amazed and angry. Is that true, Mom? No, I didn't mean... So it is true. Why did you do that? I didn't intend for it to go like this. Watching Scarlett about to cry from her son's anger, I felt like all my troubles had vanished. Well, I have things to do. Okay, wait a minute. Ignoring her, I went back to my room. I believed this would stop her from being mean to me in the future. I never doubted that. Since then, peaceful times followed. However, on that day, having stayed up all night, I ended up napping in the afternoon. Sorry to wake you, but could you come here for a sec? Understood. Ethan seemed unusually serious as I headed to the living room. I saw Scarlett there. What happened? Look at this, on the table. There was a broken model kit. It was one of Ethan's hobbies, something he treasured greatly. When I came back, I found it like this. Do you know anything? I don't know. I truly didn't recognize it. This model kit was usually in his father's room, but I hadn't been there today. Someone must have done this. I looked at Scarlett. She was the likely suspect. Then she laughed with an expression I had never seen before. It was as if she was possessed by a demon. Then I completely understood. Even if someone did it, I was out. Remember, I met you on my way back from Johanna's house. Well, yes. Also, I found this in the room. She was holding a shiny little object. Is this an earring? I checked my ears in shock. One of my earrings was missing. I thought I was defeated. He was completely getting revenge for what happened the other day. This looks like yours, Alexis, and you're missing the left one. I took a deep breath. Getting emotional would play right into her hands. Indeed, it's mine. But that doesn't mean I did it. Right. Making excuses now is unseemly when there's evidence. But still, the fact remains it was broken. Wait a minute. Then he went back to his room. He glanced at me as he left. I felt accused by him and just stood there, frozen. Too bad. This is the end for you. Doing such things, you set me up. There's no proof. If you had listened to me, this wouldn't have happened. I can explain. We'll see about that. Scarlett's words became reality. No matter how much I explained to Ethan, he wouldn't really listen. Wait, I didn't do anything. I know, I get it, he said and quickly looked away. I heard laughter from behind. See? I told you so. What? No need for sour grapes. I threw myself into work after that. It was like trying to forget reality. 2 weeks passed with hardly any conversation between Ethan and me. During that time, Scarlett kept showing her triumphant face. Feeling down lately? Something wrong? I know you don't mean it. It's too late for that attitude now. She was unusually cheerful today. I had a feeling something bad would happen, and it soon did. While I was cleaning my room, "What are you doing in this house? You're like a parasite." "What are you talking about?" "Such a noisy woman." With that, she threw my belongings out of the window. "What are you doing?" I protested her insane behavior. "Huh, don't talk back to me. Pick them up. Please." Then she suddenly held a knife to my throat. Realizing the danger, I couldn't move. "Don't move. It's better for you." No normal person would go this far, even if they disliked me. She had clearly lost her mind. "Leave now, or next time it won't be a joke." "Understood. If you insist, I'll leave." I realized any further involvement with her could lead to something irreparable. "Fine. You have a week. Leave within that time." "Thank you." That was an opportunity. With a week's time, I could prepare various things. She didn't understand. She didn't know who was really supporting this house. The reason she could live freely and comfortably was because of me. "Get your preparations done quickly." "I'll start right away," I told her, but I couldn't help laughing. I immediately switched back to a serious expression, not wanting her to notice. "It will bring peace to the house." "Very good, yes." Indeed, how foolish can she be? Without me, she'll face a hell far from peace. I began preparing for the move right away. The belongings were manageable, but finding a place to live was the first step. When Scarlett was asleep, I decided to inform Ethan. "So you were told that actually I have something to say too," I shouted in response to the serious topic he brought up. "What do you mean?" "There's a lot to talk about. I'll tell you later." "Make sure you do." 3 days after Scarlett's eviction order, I successfully found a new house, and soon the promised week arrived. Today is the day of the promise. You understand, right? Of course. The movers will be here soon. Finally. Oh, where's Ethan? I don't know. He's been out since the morning. Oh, well, anyway. The thought of not having to see your face anymore is so refreshing. I'm going out too, so make sure everything's clean. Of course. I saw her off with a smile. Of course, it wasn't a smile from the heart. An hour later, the movers arrived and loaded all the belongings. I then contacted Ethan. Everything's loaded. All right, take care. See you later. I hung up the phone. I wondered what kind of face Scarlett would make when she returned. I couldn't wait to get to the new place. When the move was finally completed. What did you do? Huh? I just moved as I was told. That can't be. Ethan's things are gone too, aren't they? That's obvious because we moved together. You're lying. You want to talk with him? I put Ethan on speakerphone. She clearly hadn't fully grasped what was happening, just as I had planned. Mom, explain this to me. I found out that you were behind the model kit incident. Alexis would never do such a thing. How could you know that? Because she gave it to me as a gift, and she wouldn't do something like that. Ethan was right. I had gifted him that model kit. It was a limited edition, and I had lined up early in the morning to get it. So he was probing you, knowing everything. Exactly, to see how cruel you were to her. Oh my. By the way, from now on, you can manage on your own, right? We'll enjoy our time in a condominium. What? Condominium? Weren't you just playing around? She clearly didn't understand anything. I thought she knew more, but not to this extent. Actually, I've been paying for our living expenses. I thought Ethan was. How could that be when I was at home? A little thought would make it clear. She was speechless. No wonder, considering she was being supported by the person she harassed. The one who misunderstood everything was Scarlett herself. So, Scarlett, please manage on your own. I'm not working, without you guys. You chose to let go, Scarlett. It's not our problem. Let's both do our best from now on. Are you abandoning your mother? Huh? I'm not doing that. We used to live separately anyway. Bye. Ethan hung up the phone. Both he and I felt refreshed. There was a time I thought we might get along, but I quickly forgot about that given how things turned out. It was her own doing. By the way, why didn't you tell me about Scarlett? Oh, to deceive the enemy. First deceive your ally, right? You say the enemy? We looked at each other and burst into laughter. This will surely bring peace. About a month later. Hello? Hey, Alexis, I can't do this alone. What are you talking about? It's only been a month. You've got a long way to go. Keep it up. It's not that. Let's both do our best. Bye. Scarlett must have been seeking a glimmer of hope, but I wasn't going to easily reach out. Ethan had already blocked her calls, so she had no choice but to contact me. No matter how many times she called, I would keep pushing her away. Shall we move this luggage? Thanks. Could you take it there? Wait, is your right hand okay? Oh yeah. Recently it started to get stronger. Really? I was constantly surprised by his recent changes, but I quickly felt happy. Scarlett didn't matter anymore. We were going to focus on our own happiness.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked. We could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look, "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day." Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. "So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. "Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company?" Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike. What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.